The night Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker unleashed chaos on Jey Uso and CM Punk, and how OTC came to the rescue. It was a night that left everyone in the WWE Universe in complete disbelief. What started as a regular night in the squared circle quickly escalated into one of the most chaotic, brutal, and unexpected confrontations in recent memory. Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, two of WWE's most dangerous and cunning superstars, wreaked havoc on Jey Uso and CM Punk in a match that turned into nothing short of destruction. But just when it seemed like all hope was lost for Jey and Punk, a shocking moment of salvation erupted from the shadows. The crowd erupted. And it wasn't just the violence that had fans on the edge of their seats, there was an entirely different force at play. An unforeseen alliance, a group who refused to let the chaos define the night. OTC, the very same group that had been operating in the shadows, came to the rescue. And what followed? Pure pandemonium. Tonight, we're going to dive deep into the madness that unfolded in that arena. Let's rewind and break down exactly what went down on that fateful night, how this chaotic story began, and what the future holds for everyone involved. The build-up to chaos. For weeks, the tension had been brewing. CM Punk's return to WWE was never going to be a quiet affair. If anything, it was guaranteed to stir up controversy. Punk had come back with a chip on his shoulder, ready to stir up trouble with some of the most influential figures in WWE. But one thing was clear, he had earned some dangerous enemies. None more dangerous than the duo of Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Seth Rollins, a master of manipulation, an architect who had built his empire on creating chaos and bending it to his will, aligned himself with none other than Braun Breaker, the powerhouse of WWE who had been tearing through the roster like a wrecking ball. Together, they formed a brutal and calculated alliance. But the thing about chaos is, it always needs a spark. And that spark came from the ever-reliable Jey Uso. Jey had always been one to stand up for what's right. Whether it was as a part of the bloodline or as an individual, Jey had earned his reputation as a fighter, someone who wouldn't back down from a challenge. And while his intentions were pure, they placed him in the crosshairs of Seth and Braun. The tension was palpable, and it wasn't long before things would go from bad to worse. The match itself was set. Jey Uso and CM Punk would team up to face Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker in what was expected to be an explosive contest. But little did anyone know, this was far from your typical tag team match. The match begins, destruction unleashed. As the match began, the atmosphere was electric. The WWE Universe filled the arena, and the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. CM Punk, the resilient veteran, and Jey Uso, the ever-determined underdog, stood tall in one corner. On the opposite side, Seth Rollins strutted down the ramp, flashing his signature smirk, a man with a plan. Behind him, the powerhouse that was Braun Breaker followed, his eyes filled with an intensity that promised destruction. The bell rang. Immediately, it was clear that Rollins and Breaker had something devious in mind. Rollins, always the mastermind, distracted the referee just long enough for Breaker to get the upper hand. In a shocking display of power, Breaker lifted Punk like he was a ragdoll, slamming him into the mat with ease. The crowd gasped in disbelief. Punk, known for his technical prowess, was struggling to even get a moment to breathe under the sheer force of Breaker's assault. Jey, who had been trying to keep things in check, quickly found himself caught in the crossfire. Seth Rollins, the opportunist, wasted no time in taking advantage, viciously attacking Jey with a series of calculated stomps and strikes. It was clear, this wasn't just a match. This was an execution. The crowd was stunned into silence. How had it all gone so wrong? Jey Uso, who had fought so valiantly in the Bloodline saga, was being dismantled by Rollins and Breaker, two men who had no interest in playing fair. It was now a one-sided massacre. And the brutality was just beginning. Every time Punk tried to fight back, Breaker's raw strength put him right back in his place. Every time Jey tried to intervene, Rollins struck with ruthless precision. The energy in the arena shifted from disbelief to anger as the fans realized that Rollins and Breakker weren't just out to win, they were out to make a statement. They were out to show the WWE Universe who was really in charge. The turning point, the arrival of OTC. Just when it seemed like there was no way out for Punk and Jey, the unexpected happened. The arena lights flickered for a moment, and a strange energy filled the air. The crowd started murmuring, unsure of what was going on. Suddenly, the music hit. It was OTC. The group that had been building up in the shadows for weeks, the faction that had been quietly amassing power and influence in WWE, had finally made their move. The arena exploded as the mysterious figures marched down the ramp. OTC had come to the rescue. But who were they? What was their agenda? In a display of pure athleticism and coordination, OTC launched themselves into the ring, taking on both Rollins and Breakker in a fight that turned the tide. Breakker, for the first time in the match, was caught off guard as two members of OTC overwhelmed him. Rollins, equally stunned, tried to regroup, but OTC was relentless. With calculated precision, they took control, turning the brutal beatdown into an all-out brawl. And just like that, the chaos escalated to new heights. The fallout, what does this mean for the future? The aftermath of that night was nothing short of a game-changer. Jey Uso and CM Punk, bloodied but determined, stood side by side with OTC, looking up at the chaos they had just caused. It was clear that the landscape of WWE had shifted. But what was next for Rollins, Breakker, Punk, Jey, and most importantly, OTC? Jey Uso. We didn't ask for this, but now we've got some backup. Seth and Braun thought they could bully us around, but they picked the wrong night to start a war. CM Punk. When you mess with the wrong people, you end up with consequences. Tonight, Rollins and Breakker learned that the hard way. But let me make one thing clear, this is far from over. The events that transpired that night changed the WWE Universe forever. The once dominant duo of Seth Rollins and Braun Breakker had been humbled by an unexpected savior, OTC. The alliances, the rivalries, and the power dynamics in WWE were now in flux. Everyone from Rollins and Breakker to Punk and Jey to OTC itself had stakes in the game, and no one knew what was coming next. One thing is certain, though, WWE will never be the same again. And as we look ahead to future episodes, the question remains, who will rise? Who will fall? And will OTC continue to shake things up in ways no one could have predicted? Stay tuned to Wrestling News CC for all the latest updates. This story is far from over. Thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Wrestling News CC for more exclusive content and in-depth analysis. Let us know what you think about the chaos that unfolded and where you see this storyline going next. Until next time, keep watching, because in WWE, anything can happen. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.